Okay, this video will show you how to change your Ion faucets. This is the order in which they go. The dual wound, then the blue Ion Medic, and the 1 pound KDF catalytic, or the 1 pound KDF. It might not say catalytic, it might be KDF. But anyway, this is the order in which they go. The thing we do is
you have to shut off your valve to your water line.
Shut off the valve to the water line, that silver thing.
Yep. So I know this one right here. See this little white hose that goes to the machine?
Uh-huh.
You find that valve,
okay,
and then you shut that off.
Okay.
You need a flashlight?
So you shut off the water valve.
Yep. So
Then come up and relieve any pressure you may have in the valve.
And then you're going to pull this whole thing. We're going to pull this whole thing out. And there should be enough. There should be enough extra hose that we should be able to pull it out. You're going to want a towel, and you're going to want a little.
That's
Grandma's
my mom.
loving this.
That's my mom in the background laughing about
You
everything.
want a little thing to catch water.
Quiet in the background.
It's hard to replace these while they're underneath the sink. I take this whole thing out.
Okay.
So this is how you do it. These hoses are just a compression fit. And so what you end up doing is there's a little ring right here. We're going to push down on this ring. You see how that ring went down like that?
Yeah.
We push down on that ring, and then the hose will eventually come out. You usually can push it down with your fingers or with your thumbnails or fingernails.
So it might take a little bit of patience.
And it'll be a
maneuvering.
little tight.
Kind of like taking off a pickle jar. It's kind of hard at first, and you have to.
Depending on how old this has been sitting in. Let's see if this gets. No, this will be far enough to come all the way out. Oops. Just like that. So once you push this little compression ring, once you push that down, it releases this.
And I noticed that only one side was pushed down. Maybe that's why it wasn't coming out. Okay.
Oh yeah. If you got to push both sides.
Both sides.
Sometimes water comes out here. That's kind of why you have your towel. And now we're going to do this back end. We do the same. And I'm pushing that in with my fingers, and it just comes right out. And
little bowls for any drippage.
yep. So this actually will have water in it, and it will drip out. So I'm going to take this over. I'm going to let this.
Just go up into the sink.
Yep, go up in the sink, and I'm just going to let a little bit of water out. It's not going to like drain out. See how it just drips? And that's just starting to let some of the water out and some of the pressure out.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to let out right now. So then you're going to take your towel. You're going to lay it on the towel. And I lay it down. Yeah. And then I'm just going to unloosen them. I'm not going to undo them all. You have your wrench. So you put your wrench on. And you just kind of go, what is that, counterclockwise? And I just did enough just to make it loose so I can undo it with my hand.
Okay. So you don't want to undo them all while they're laying sideways. You just want to loosen them.
Yep, you just want to loosen them because then you're going to set it back up, and then you're going to let all the water out. Okay.
Okay.
Because if you undid them all right now, all the water in here would dump out. So now I'm going to take them up here, put them in the sink, and you can just start to twist them off with your hands. Since I kind of loosened up that one, I didn't loosen very much, but there.
He-Man.
Yeah. So we're going to take this one off first. This is the first cartridge, and this is usually the.
Take this off?
Yeah, take the plastic off.
So we're taking that off.
Okay, so you want to unwrap all of these so that they're ready to be dropped in. And then look at the difference. Woo! definitely time to change your filters.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna rinse this out. I'm gonna inspect this O-ring. There's a big O-ring right here that's on every one. I'm gonna make sure there's no like little grooves or anything in it. It actually feels really good.
Okay.
And I usually wash that O-ring a little bit because there might be a little bit of sediment or something on it. That actually looks really good now. Then all you do is you take this, and it has a little hole down at the bottom, and there's a little hole down there. You just drop it in, put it right there in the middle. You can see it's seated,
Okay.
and it's seated here as well. And then you just line it up. There's a thing, yeah, there's a thing on the bottom of here, and that's going to go inside the hole.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, so the top of this is actually going to go in that.
Okay.
So we're going to go like that. And once you make sure that's seated on, then you just kind of start to twist this back on. And at this point, you just do it hand tight. And then we just do this, the second one, the middle one. So I want you to make sure these O-rings are in good shape. There's usually one on the bottom, one on the top. And this is the same. You just drop it in, make sure it's seated. And you take this, make sure it's lined up on that. And you can feel it when it's lined up. And it just goes on like that. And we'll do the last
The
one.
one that goes in the very last is, it looks like it's got a blue ring at the bottom and some gold stuff. I don't know. Yeah,
This
blue
one's the
silk.
bone char.
This is a catalytic. That medic one, the medic in the middle, that one takes out fluoride too. Fluoride and heavy metals. The little tags kind of tell you
When
what
I
they do.
felt this O-ring on here, it kind of felt like there was a little like crusties, a little sediment buildup on it. So I decided to take that O-ring out, and I'm just wiping it off. And now it feels good. There's no cracks. It's still round. If your O-ring is really, really flat, it might not seal properly. So if it feels like it's really flat, you can just pull it off, make sure it feels round. Put the O-ring back in. Put this back in. Didn't feel like it's seated.
Cross-threaded, so make
No.
sure you don't.
It's not cross-threaded.
Oh.
I just don't know if it's seated all the way down.
Oh.
These tend to be really hard to cross-thread because the threads are so big.
Oh yeah, they are. I'm learning, people. I've
There
never
you go.
done one of these
Now it
before.
feels much better. Before there was a big gap there and I could feel it, but now it's going really tight. So here you just kind of do hand tight.
I must not color it before you took it.
Yep. I always like to wipe the top of this off while we're here.
All right.
So once they're all hand tight, now you're going to lay it down. There's no water in it. And then you're going to take your wrench and you're going to tighten it up. You don't have to tighten it really, really tight. Maybe, let's see how far. I mean, that was maybe 1/8 of a turn.
So righty-tighty. So he's doing it to the right, towards me.
Yep. And you don't have to push it really, really tight. At least you shouldn't have to, as long as your O-rings are in good shape. So we're just gonna kind of wipe it off. We're gonna make sure these ends are still tight. They should be pretty tight. This one feels good too. So now what we're gonna do is just put them back the same. There's an in and an out, and you look at the arrows. So this goes in and then it goes out. So what you want to do is you want to take your hose. If you forget which one, find the one where the shutoff is, that hose, and that will go into your filter.
Okay.
And then the other hose that goes out goes to your faucet. Yep. Wipe these off to make sure there's no sediment or anything on them. And all you're going to do is you're just going to push them back on. So once it's sit there, it should go in about 1/4 inch. and that's it. So yeah, you can feel it push in. If you don't feel that push in, then it's not right. This hose, I'm gonna take it over there like that. And then this one, I'm just gonna push right down on. And that's as far as it goes.
Okay, now this is the important part.
So now you just turn the water back on and it's gonna fill all these and pressure up. So we're gonna turn this on.
It automatically starts filling up.
Yep, it'll fill this one, then that one, then that one.
You don't even have to turn the sink on, huh?
Nope.
It's just starting to fill them.
It's filling them up and then it's building up pressure.
And then you gotta check to make sure nothing's leaking.
Yep, so we're gonna check right now.
Need a flashlight?
Nope. Okay, so I don't hear any more water running. So that means the pressure's up. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put my hands around here and see if I feel anything wet. So this one's dry, this one's dry. The back one's dry. I'm also going to feel underneath here. And that's dry. And the back one's dry too. So right now there's no leaking and there's no drips. So what you're going to, next thing you're going to do is you're actually going to flush this filter out for 10 minutes. It says 10 minutes. And then after that, you're going to check for leaks again.
So, 10 more minutes. We'll see. Before you start flushing it, instead of running it through the machine, you're going to put in the cleaning cartridge first. That way, all that carbon and junk from the pre-filter doesn't get into your machine. So this is showing how to put in the cleaning
Now
cartridge.
we have the cleaning cartridge, and it has both its O-rings. Sometimes what will happen is if you pull this one off and one of the O-rings is still sitting in your machine, and then you put this one in, it'll have a double O-ring and a bunch of water will come out. So make sure both O-rings stay there. Make sure both O-rings are in there. We're just gonna put that on. Don't put any, you don't need to put any of your cleaner in here. Just leave it empty. Put that on. Just seat it down in. Put your green back on.
And that way you won't be getting
Yeah, that way you're not gonna fill this up with all the old carbon.
that's come through.
Yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the water on. It's going to have a bunch of air.
It's going to sound like craziness.
Yeah, it's going to sound like craziness because there still was a bunch of air in that filter down there just because they're... So can you see how dark that is right
Black
now?
stuff coming out. This is why you have to flush 10 minutes.
Yeah. And this isn't anything bad. It's supposed to do that. This is the carbon, so the water's going through the carbon right now. So once you do that, I would just turn it on full blast. Make sure your machine's off and let it go for 10 minutes.
And go play a game or something while it flushes for 10 minutes.
So it's been going for 10 minutes. We turn the water off. We're going to take your cleaning cartridge out. Make sure the O-rings are on there. We're going to take the water out of it. You're going to want to dry this out. Don't put this away wet. So put that somewhere where it can dry. Make sure your O-rings are on your regular filter cartridge. Put that in. Make sure it's seated. You just lightly push down. Make sure that's on. Then you end up turning it this way to lock it down. Like that. Before I turn the machine on, I'm going to turn on the water and make sure there's no leaking here. Right now it's filling up that filter. And there's no dripping here, so this is on correctly. Turn the machine on. The machine's ready to go. I'm going to double check one more time for any leaks down below. So there's 5 places I'm going to check for leaks. The first is your shutoff way in the back because sometimes they drip and there's no dripping there. I'm going to check this connection. There's no water, no water, no water. That feels good. And then the back connection. So there's no water in any of them. There's no drips, nothing. So you're good to go. That's it.
All right, would you suggest checking it once in a while, like
Afterwards?
the day after?
I
Just
would
to make
glance
sure?
at it the day after, just tomorrow. But if it's this way, you shouldn't have an issue. But sometimes when you change them, sometimes the O-rings don't seat, and the O-ring might drip the next day. So I just double check one more time the following day, just so you can sleep at night.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.